story was decent. I mean, with the exception of the Finn and Rose story arc, that could have been taken out, in my opinion. But everything else, there was something intriguing about it. So without the expectations, I'm not looking for the answers to who Snoke is, not looking for the answer to, whose Rey's parents are. Just
Isn't that the whole point of the movie?
Some people, the point of the movie just got to just think escapism. Just say, I just want to go watch a movie. I just want to spend my $8 to $20, whatever it's going to be. I just want to watch a special effects movie, just be wild for 2 hours. Now, except if you go in there with expectations, that's the point of your experience, where you want to go in there and say, hey, I watched Force Awakens. I want to continue this journey. I want to know more about Rey. I want to know more about Snoke. Then if that's what your expectation is, then that's your point.
Well, they led me into it. So, nope, sorry.
And that's why I was saying before, where I was like, it kind of feels like Johnson was kind of shitting on JJ because of the fact like he didn't answer those questions. He just kind of said, fuck Snoke, fuck Phasma, fuck Rey's parents. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be a Skywalker and all that kind of stuff. You can just be a nobody and be Force sensitive, which in a sense kind of plays with Disney, because now that Disney owns the franchise, it's kind of like to a point where you're like, you don't have to be special to be a Jedi. Anybody can be a Jedi. And that's the story, I guess, something to try to get out there to kind of make it more like, hey, I could be just somebody off the street or just some random kid, which sells more merchandise, sells more products.
Makes everybody feel great.
Well, exactly.
I do have a problem with that. Anybody can be a Jedi.
Everyone can be great?
Yeah.
You don't need any work. Hell, fuck it. You can go ahead and just, with no experience, you can do whatever you want.
That kills
be a doctor, right, grab a knife and start cutting on people.
That kills me right there. It's like this, just how good she is. She's able to take on I don't know what those troops were called, the guards, the red suits around Snoke.
Yeah, those were like professional dudes.
Yeah, that kills me right there. You got someone who's like shadow boxing with a lightsaber. That's her practice. That's her training. And then now she's able to take on these elite soldiers.
And them dudes were elite. They're red.
You assume they are. If they're guarding Snoke, you assume they're like the.
Well, in Star Trek, if you wear a red shirt, you are an extra. You're getting phasered. And you're not coming back from that away mission.
Really?
Yeah, you're the person getting yeah.
I'm not a Trekkie, but
in Star Trek, flawed. In Star Trek, if you wear a red shirt, you're getting phasered.
I can imagine being an extra on set. Here's a red shirt. I'm like, nah, dude. I'm trying to get paid more than one episode. Nah, I ain't wearing no red shirt, son.
Old school Star Trek or like Star Trek?
Next Generation. If command, you are not coming back from that away mission. You did.
What did Picard wear? Wasn't his shirt red?
Yeah. He came back from the away missions.
Hold up. Did you say if you wear the red?
I'm just saying,
That's what I heard.
That's what I heard too.
If you wear a red shirt and you are not on the main cast, you are likely not making it back from an away mission.
You're not on the main cast. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he threw the exception in there.
Yeah.
So that Snook.
Right at the end. There you go.
That Snook room was all red. At least from my recollection. And those dudes were red.
I saw it on Sunday. That shit was red.
But the problem was that they were all faceless nobodies. And that's how they explained away everything that happened.
I was like, I didn't see Rey holding the lightsaber against one of them for 5 seconds or 5 minutes. Pondering life's thoughts. They would have killed her.
Follow me. We will rule the universe.
That's one thing I do like. As far as his outlet, I just want to conquer the world. No, he did have theory about it. I want everything in the past to be done so I can go ahead and not have to worry about all this stuff.
That kind of confuses me too, where it's like, I don't fully understand his conflict. Were Leia and Han really bad parents?
The way they try to explain it in the movie was just because of Luke. Luke sensed something bad about him with the Force and decided to kill him, and that turns it into
No, I get that. I get all that, but I mean, I guess it's like...
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it also goes back into the fact of how did the First Order become this power?
Maybe they're going to do what Lucas did, where basically you had New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then I don't know how many years later, you come back with the prequels to explain all that shit. Now you figure out who Snoke is. Now you find out who Rey's parents are. Now you figure out the First Order.
That doesn't matter. The prequels mattered because it had to make sense. Because, how do you start a whole thing on episode 4? So if they started this series on episode 10, all right, well, something has to come before that.
Mm-hmm.
It has to. The prequels, at least 1 and 2, might not have worked out as well as it should have, but at least it provided something rather than someone magically just has force powers.
Mm-hmm.
But it made sense, though. It followed
The sequence.
It followed a sequence, and then you saw growth. I mean, I don't think it was the best, but it made sense. And I was like, oh, okay. Anakin got fucked up in part 3. I was like, oh, no wonder I'd be jealous for everyone who have his arms and legs, you know?
I mean, the whole hook was just that the Jedi were terrible people, too. And Anakin Skywalker made the choice, and he chose the wrong side.
Like, if Darth Vader is supposed to be the baddest of all the bad guys in movie history, or one bad dude, maybe they'll come out with well, not even a prequel, but its own spin-off where they really show how bad he is, because, I mean, people feared him. And he was in charge for quite some time, if I remember right.
Do you take away from the mythology or the lore or the fantasy of Darth Vader if you actually portray it?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I would say that if you look at Rogue One, that took away from everything that led up to, hey, someone stole the plans for the Death Star.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about the Darth Vader bit.
But that also comes into play with that. That was just an entirely unfulfilled movie that was supposed to flesh out everything. Like, this Han Solo movie is supposed to shape his character, but I don't think it's going to work out well.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much you can do in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I think.
I mean, you're trying to retcon history into Star Wars, and I mean, there's books and there's other stuff that you can pull from those things, but I don't think Disney cares about all that. I don't think they want to pay a writer royalties for what they wrote in the book. It's like, well, we have people that can write. We have J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams. You know, with all the lineage and the depth of this universe, they could have went in so many directions. When we take a look at comic book movies prior to MCU, why were they so bad?
Writing.
And
just overall vision. Because everything stemmed from the Tim Burton versions of Batman. Mm-hmm. Everything had to be kind of slightly hokey.
Could have been the time, could have been the era, but it also could have been the fact that it was like comic books at the time weren't seen as they are now. They were kind of seen like, you know, with the Batman character with the pow, black, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the early 90s comic books were worthless, basically.
Yeah, people who wanted to make a movie about the comic book were thinking about the comic books of their generation or whatever the case may be, and then trying to bring that to the big screen. Didn't quite work out that well. It was to try to translate. Then you got the generation now. They're like, let's try to bring it to like a realist world where it's like, hey, let's try to bring Iron Man into today's society. Make it work that way.
And or X-Men, the revivals of comic book movies.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men took a serious tone.
Talking about comic book movies, Spawn. That had the potential to be great. Potential.
Well, the problem is now is that Spawn is worthless comic book character.
Worthless?
Yes.
Why is he worthless?
Yeah, why is he
Spawn's
worthless?
actually a pretty decent character.
Okay,
but you assigned
good
the value
story
to this dude.
Would you put Spawn in a A-tier character where you have Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, B-tier, or C-tier?
Back in the day, I would have put him in an A. The reason why is because he was the face of Image Comics. Now, shoot. C, maybe even D. Iron Man was C-rated at a point too. I think the only reason why people like him so much is the charismatic presence of Tony. I mean, he just did great. He made him a likable character. He was a jackass at times in a Disney-related way. I'm pretty sure he was worse in the comics.
Spawn is an F-tier character.
F? But people recognize him.
No.
People recognize Spawn a lot more than Guardians of the Galaxy before they came out. Did you know who Groot was prior to the movies?
No, I agree. But Spawn is not fondly remembered. History of comic books.
What? Who was the artist that drew
Todd
Spider-Man? McFarlane?
Yeah.
When they crossed over, I mean, he was looked upon characters. Like, people wanted to know what's going on with them. I'd like to get James's input on this.
Well, I think Keith might be along my lines about Spawn.
We need to revisit this.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Matt, though. I mean, I don't know enough about Spawn or comics in general, but I wouldn't say Spawn was an F, level character.
F. I'm like, man, he's talking about Alpha Flight type shit.
Exactly. I mean,
Alpha
I wouldn't put
Flight.
I would put him on the same level as X-Men or Spider-Man or anything like that. But I mean, he's definitely, I would say, somewhere in that B or C level because, like you said,
I'd give him C at level.
yeah. Because I mean, like you said at one point, yeah, Spawn was the face,
of Image.
Yeah, and he was a very popular character, and I think now because of the fact that he was more of a darker character because he was like Hellspawn and all that kind of stuff, kind of maybe took some of his shine off because of the fact that everybody else is like just fighting bad guys, whatever. And hello, he's with the devil. He's with
I know. Don't talk to that guy.
exactly. So he puts a little tarnish on his mantle, I guess you would say, but he had a really good story. I mean, his story was good, and his backstory was good. I mean, I wouldn't put him on the F level. Side with you on that one, Matt. Yeah, up there a little bit more.
He said F level.
Yes.
Holy shit.
So how did you guys want Luke Skywalker to go out?
I didn't.
You wanted him to stick around?
Yes.
Want to be alive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you knew he had to die at some point.
Yes. But
So
not
how
like
would-
that.
But how would
And
you?
not
How
in
would you
this
like
series
to
of
see him go out?
movies. The end of the movie, the whole entire movie, up until the point that they got into the bunker, had played out the way that it did, and then Luke Skywalker shows up, starts taking down AT-ATs, and then him and Kylo Ren have a lightsaber battle.
And I wanted to see his growth as a Jedi, although he disconnected from the Force, but yet he used Force powers. He even used it back when he was on that home planet.
Yeah,
You saw
but
when he got
him,
knocked over, and then he used it to
Mhm.
levitate himself. So I don't think
Yeah.
he totally disconnected.
No.
I would have liked to see him with his vast array of Force powers just tear shit up.
yeah, again, just went on a rampage, destroying everybody, and then him and Kylo Ren face off or don't face off, and he just disappears. Like, yeah, that's fine. And he allows everyone to escape. I'm fine with that.
You would have seen ratings go off the roof. I mean, I don't know if you remember when we were like, holy shit, Yoda uses his lightsaber?
Mm-hmm.
People watched it just to see Yoda go off.
Mm-hmm.
Probably would have been higher reviews, possibly, or at least something redeeming. If we saw Luke, like, holy shit, he just took down those walkers just by flicking his finger. Obviously, it'd have to be a little bit more dramatic than that.
Yeah.
What was the one guy off the Star Wars video game?
Revan?
No, well, not Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, you
Not
talking
that
about Star Killer?
Yeah, like if they had some shit like that or developed a guy like that, I think that would have been kick-ass. If that little kid from fucking Star Wars at the end of this movie turned into Star Killer, that'd be kick-ass. Although you would have to develop him over a series of movies.
Well, Star Killer was Vader's apprentice in
Yeah,
Force Unleashed.
they could have bent it a little bit. I mean, shit, look what Marvel did. Marvel bent some of the characters a little bit to fit the cinematic universe. I mean, Ultron was not...
Yeah, Jarvis is a butler, not an AI or companion.
They could have manipulated the Star Wars universe a little bit to have some influence. I mean, for all I know, Thanos is in love with Thor's sister and is going to kill the universe. She'll be the Lady Death, which I called a year ago, so gotta wait to see if it comes into fruition. So you would have had it differently, Tyrone, for Luke.
I was actually okay with the way it ended because my perspective, like I knew Luke had to die. I mean, for one, just from a story standpoint, just from like realistically. I mean, Mark Hamill bouncing around like Yoda was wouldn't have set well with me because I was like, I would have had a hard time just like watching an old man Luke running around, bouncing around like Yoda, destroying things and all that kind of stuff. The fact he's force projecting himself across the galaxy and then
Skype.
Coach one, Skype and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that like,
Skype, that's what it was.
But the amount of power it had to take to do something like that, where it's like, across the galaxy, to see what they're doing, to talk to Leia, to wink at 3PO, to hold the dice, to keep that dice projector going while he was actually talking to everybody else, going over there.
For him to actually pick that shit up?
Yeah, and then go through the whole process, fight Kylo Ren. The dice is still there. He fades away.
He's not fighting Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, or did he just move around?
He occupied. He kept him distracted.
Because they never crossed lightsabers, did they?
No.
They never did. No.
I mean, because he more or less was invisible. He was a ghost.
Yeah.
So Luke Skywalker had already died. That's my new theory.
What?
I would say my new theory is that Luke Skywalker had already died. And what you see in Force Awakens or whatever the heck it is, the Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker was already dead.
How about so you might have a theory. I was going back like, did they just sixth sense us?
Yeah.
Did he go through the whole movie and not touch anything?
Basically.
Nah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, hold up. Did we just go through that, Joe? Did he just Bruce Willis us? Well,
And come to find out, Ray has been talking to herself the whole island.
Exactly.
She was floating the whole island.
It's like,
Got him like Timolando or something. Like, what the hell? He milked that cow, so no, that theory's disproved. So,
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
he milked that whatever it was.
He was like, he got some milk out of a tea. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's like stuff like that kind of killed me because it was like smacking his lips and shit.
That's some good titty milk.
It's like that right there kind of killed it for me because I was like, come on, you're kind of disgracing Luke. That's Luke Skywalker. He's like, I'm like, come on, that's not
like
cool.
Milk. What?
Yeah, so that wasn't cool. No.
Well, I mean, the comedy in that movie is a problem. Doesn't have any place in Star Wars. Because everything that's happening with that comedy is all modern movie comedic elements. And Star Wars needs to be a little bit more regal than that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think so too. I think the throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder, I mean, it was funny. But I was like, I don't really think he would have done that.
Well, the only comedic element I approve of is when he dusted his shoulder off.
Yeah. The lightsaber thing, I thought it was funny, but I was like, I don't think he would have done that. Especially being that shit saved his life.
Because especially like the fact that was his father's lightsaber, right? It got passed down to him, so there was like history behind that lightsaber. So you would think he would have treated him with more respect, but maybe that was his way of Johnson's way of just trying to show just how far from the Force that he had went or he had gone or become. So that he was just like, fuck it, I don't give a shit about this,
Yeah.
Or like I said before, it was Johnson's way of just kind of shitting on JJ because it's like he ended his movie with that whole cliffhanger, her handing the lightsaber. So he takes the lightsaber like, fuck it, I don't give a shit about this. Just throws it out.
Well, the movie does have a lot of problems, but at least it's better than The Force Awakens. I can accept a lot of things that happen in the movie just because I hate Force Awakens so much.
What didn't you like about Force Awakens?
Everything.
He said everything.
Start with the big thing.
Rey.
Yeah.
Finn. The only good thing about The Force Awakens is Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah.
He's Poe Dameron. He is the greatest actor of our generation.
Damn.
Really?
Really?
You need to see him in a lot of other stuff, and you understand that he does a lot of character acting. He can go from Al Pacino to Robert De Niro to Poe Dameron.
So if you didn't like Rey and Finn in Force Awakens, do you like them in this movie, The Last Jedi?
I like them, but I think they are written better in this movie. Maybe except for Finn. Finn kind of got the backseat because he's just basically in Rogue One. It's the same concept. Let's steal something to hack something to break into something. And it felt like I was watching Rogue One again.
And you liked Rogue One.
I hate Rogue One. It's another waste of time. This wasn't a waste of time, but Rogue One was. And Force Awakens definitely is.
In it. I'm not surprised.
It was one lightsaber scene.
Yeah, the only saving grace.
And that droid, I can't think it was like K2 or something. Like he was pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
Because he kind of reminds me of the droid from Knights of the Old Republic. I think it's HK-47 or something like that.
And Electronic Arts owns the Knights of the Old Republic storyline, is that correct?
Well, not necessarily. So I want to say Disney owns it because when they purchased Lucasfilms, they also got LucasArts.
I mean, shit, if they're going to do a Han Solo spinoff, they could have created their own legacy by coming up with the Knights of the Old Republic.
Whoa.
It would have been a little bit darker, yes. However, the storyline and character development, if it follows the same tone, I thought would have been great.
Well, probably what you're going to get next is Han Solo. I'm talking about the alternating movies. Han Solo, Yoda, probably Obi-Wan, and after that, I'm not sure what will happen.
I think all of them will take a hit, especially after The Last Jedi.
You might get a Palpatine movie. Might see how Palpatine became a Sith Lord or something. I don't know. That might be interesting. I think Mike might have said this on a previous podcast, but they really should just do a TV show and stop with these movies.
No, it makes too much money.
No, I understand that, but you'll get better storytelling out of a TV show rather than a 2-hour movie that happens every 2 to 3 years. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying Disney is wrong. So,
Your thoughts about Finn and Rose and that whole story arc? Really, because I actually liked Finn.
I don't like Finn.
I was hoping for more in this movie, for him. It's like that whole Rose thing. I'm like, it was pointless.
Well,
like, you went through all that trouble.
Pakih brought it up, and he mentioned that whole arc for his character was pointless just because them attempting to find the person that could open up the whatever they needed.
Yeah.
Turned out to be pointless, and then they got Benicio del Toro, who turned on them, so the whole plan was doomed to fail, regardless if they did it or not.
Exactly.
So it all just leads to they wrote a way to kill Captain Phasma, and Finn had to be the person to do it, which is why that whole storyline exists.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Captain Phasma, I'm pretty sure, has more training than Finn does anyway. So how the fuck did all of a sudden, he's able to beat her? Maybe 2-3 swipes, that's it? Where he comes up?
He didn't kill her. She died because everything was collapsing.
Yeah, he got the W, let me put it that way.
Yeah. That whole Rose storyline, she is the worst part about that movie. Question for Tyrone, how did you feel about Leia flying in space?
I don't like that at all. I hated that.
See? Why you think I gave it the score I did? She's always been force sensitive, yes, but I don't think she's ever used it to that extent.
See,
exactly. I'm like,
what?
This is something that I brought up in one of the podcasts. I said that if Luke had done that for her because he sensed that she was dying, and then this whole thing about him dying makes sense, that he expended so much power to save her and then expended so much energy to fight Kylo Ren, or at least appear to be fighting him. That would make sense. He sacrificed his life to keep his sister alive.
Which he kind of did at the end of that movie.
Not to that extent. She was flying in space. I think her flying in space is easier to say, oh, well, yeah, that would kill him, rather than her being buried in a bunker with a bunch of walkers shooting on the bunker.
I didn't like that at all. She was force sensitive, yes, but did she ever use it to that extent where not only did she fly through space, but she had to create a shield around herself or a bubble around herself?
How the fuck is she breathing? There's no...
Exactly. Why didn't she just freeze and all that kind of stuff, and it became ice and, disintegrate, or because maybe it would just shatter? So she had to create a force bubble around herself to protect herself from the space, at the same time allow herself to breathe, at the same time to pull herself to the door. So I'm like, I know
and
she's
then go into a coma.
And then go to a coma. Yeah, I know she's a Skywalker and all, but yeah.
That's she's force sensitive. Force sensitive means that you can detect something.
Yeah.
If this was Star Trek, you'd be Counselor Troy. You'll be able to sense people's feelings, but not control people's minds.
I actually thought when it happened, I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool way, because of the fact that she passed away in real life. I was like, that's a cool way for her to go out in the movie.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. I'm like,
yes,
what the fuck are you going to do with her?
Yeah.
See, Mr. Johnson, you done fucked up.
Maybe they would back edit it because of the fact she passed away. They were like, all right, this is how we're going to send her out. This go this way.
You know what I thought that what they were going to do? I thought that she was going to be the last one on the ship, take down whatever that big plane was.
That would have made sense.
But that would have been nice.
Me, I thought that's what I thought was going to happen when they're like, fuck, they brought her back alive for this shit?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh.
I would say that she got Paul Walker.
Paul Walker. Oh, my God.
There were so many ways they could have fixed that, or at least tried to shape the story in a way that she died, but all she does for the majority of the movie is just frown.
I don't know what they're going to do with the next movie. How
they might be using B-roll.
No, they said they wouldn't bring her back CGI.
Okay.
They might be using B-roll. That's likely what's going to happen, and she may die in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie.
You'll just see a floating tomb in space. I mean, they fucked it up so far. I mean, they might as well continue this route.
Yeah, they might just kill her off, because you figure there might be a time jump between this one and the next one. you think they gotta try to summarize or conclude the whole story, right? So there is no resistance. There's only a handful of people left. At the end of the movie, they show the kid, so he's the future. So you almost it's going to be like a time leap or a time jump between this.
Let him be Star Killer.
Yeah, so they'll be like, hey, all right, 10 years later, this is what happened. Oh, Princess Leia or General Leia, she's passed away. And now the Resistance, they've built themselves up to a formidable force, and now you've got this kid who's now 10 years older, Rey's training, a couple of Jedis, and Kylo Ren's got the First Order and doing whatever. So I don't know. It's a lot of questions you got to answer if you just start right off and say, oh, this is where we left off. Here we are. How the hell did you get this? And how'd you do that? Where did this come from?
It lost me after that. I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I can't take this shit seriously.
That was pretty odd.
That's why you got a 4. That's why your ass got a 4. Shit that don't make sense.
Oh, her flying, yeah.
Like, flying like she's Superman.
I was like, oh shit, there's a dead woman coming to the thing. No, thank you.
One question I had too was like, when the bombs dropped, how did the bombs drop?
The Force. Luke did it from far away.
Because there's no gravity in space. So how did the bombs drop?
I don't know. Very good point. Fraud, man. She just dropped off and this flying around. Yeah, that doesn't. Oh, I don't know.
Sorry, Ron, you're thinking too much.
Didn't you say if you just went in there with no expectation and just enjoyed it for what it is, you would like Star Wars? Is that what you said?
That's what I said. That's what I said. And I went there and I enjoyed it just for that. I was like, fuck it, I don't care. Bro, they hit the target, they made it, it blew up. That's fine. All right, cool. I'll just look over like that. That's fine. That's cool.